All right, cool. All righty, welcome everybody. This is the first webinar of 2021. It's going to be with Jeff Rosencrance, captain down at Harrison Township. Jeff will give a little introduction of himself. I just got some little notes to talk about. First off, thank you for your support during the webinar. I know when the pandemic first hit, we kind of were scrambling to get some training done, and Schwartz stepped up and they said, we'll sponsor this webinar idea, and it's kind of blossomed into an actual training series. So I'm pretty excited for this. So we have the first 3 months already scheduled out. Obviously, we have our first with Jeff. Our second webinar is going to be February 4th with Corey Stroup of Xenia Fire, and Corey's logged on tonight. He'll be talking about some company culture and some other leadership things as well. And I'll share the info as the date gets closer. Again, thank you to Schwartz and Ben for sponsoring this, being a part of it. You can see with the banner behind me, that's who, they're the reason why this is able to happen. We issue the CEs to the participants. If you're at your firehouse and you are sharing this amongst your crews, your station, whatever it might be, send me a email, a training document, whatever that says who the people are, who participate, and all that stuff, and I'll get you training hours for that through Western Buckeye Training. In the chats, there is a link, and that link goes to a Google Doc. This is the reason why we're able to do this in 2021, is because of your guys' feedback. Please tell us everything you like, you dislike, and what you want to see in the future. That's what helps us grow and bring on speakers that we have. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Jeff.
All right. Thank you, Jordan. Like Jordan said, thank you guys for coming out tonight, taking your time. Everyone's busy with the pandemic and everything. I know that it's crazy. So being able to do these things has been just astronomical, changing the way that we do things. So just an honor to be able to present, and then just to give you guys a little bit of things that help motivate me to get me through the day and things like that. So backstory, I've been in the fire service about 16 years, career guy going on 9 now. I was at a department where I was very unhappy, but I was also very opinionated. I was one of those dudes that if it didn't go my way, I felt like everybody else was wrong. And the culture there, it was a different culture, and it was a culture that I didn't fit well in. So then I made a jump to another department on the west side of Columbus, very, very busy department, and was there for 2 years before I got this opportunity to come down to Harrison Township, Pickaway County, and got hired in as the captain / shift commander. And the atmosphere, the culture down at Harrison Township has been just amazing. We've got a few people that we're still working on, but the fire chief is real dead set on the fire department is kind of ours. We take the equipment, we take the tools. So it's whatever we need, what we want with justification, we get to accomplish all that stuff. So where I'm going with this is talking about this training the mindset stuff. Is early on in my career, my mindset was like I was the only one that mattered. Like it was going to be my way, the highway. I knew it. I was a brand new paramedic. So dude, I just got out of school, so I knew what was going on. I really didn't want to listen to some of these older guys and some of the older grunts that didn't want to share any of their information. They kind of set that culture that was like, well, once stuff's done, we're just going to sit in chairs. Again, that's the stuff that I didn't like. And nowadays, not that it's just because I'm the captain or the shift officer, but I like to get out there and get active with my guys. I want to pass my knowledge on, and I want them to feel that in 15 to 20 years, when hopefully I'm retired, that they'll be able to pass their knowledge on to something else. So that's where getting into this training the mindset.
Jeff, not to cut you off, but participation, please participate, ask questions in the chats. That's one thing Jeff and I talked about in our practice.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't be shy. Turn your camera off. You don't want to see your face.
Yeah,
but
and I'll be honest with you, I can't really see anybody right now because I'm looking at my screen and I'm using my laptop. My laptop's fairly old. The computers that I have at home are a lot better, so I can see my next slide. So I may take a little bit more time than I had anticipated, but I don't know if we're going to end up going the whole hour. We may not. It all depends on how much you as the audience want to interact or not interact. So again, like Jordan said in the beginning, we do all this stuff because when we go out and we do these trainings or interact with other people, whether it's at a conference or at a training, or in my area, it's myself and the officers or guys from other fire departments. We get together and we're like, hey man, I know it's COVID. I know it's COVID. So you got to do your COVID guidelines. But Zoom has made everything a lot easier for us to interact with other departments from all over the area. That in Pickaway County, we can set it up with a neighboring department, like, hey, we need to do a water shuttle class. Like, it needs to be done. Like, water shuttle is one of our big downfalls, but it's myself and some officers from other fire departments are like, whatever we got to do. So we're putting a PowerPoint presentation, and it'll probably be more of like a Zoom podcast is what I like to call them. It's just going to be a bunch of dudes talking about what works, what doesn't work, and what we can do to make ourselves better. So back on track with the training the mindset stuff. It's funny, when I was going over this with my wife, I was showing her this because she's my editor. Like anytime I write a paper, anytime I do anything, I send it to my wife like, hey, check this for punctuation, grammar, and spelling because I'm terrible at all that stuff. But anywho, so the introduction, and I like to look at life and everything as kind of like a circle. So for me, the very first aspect of my circle, where it started, was a sun. The picture there, I believe on the left, you can see me in my dress uniform. That was the night that I got sworn in. And that's my mom and my stepdad. But my mom has been my role model my whole entire life because growing up, my father walked out on us when I was 8. My stepdad's been around for a couple of years now. But my mom she had 2 other children. She worked full time, went to college, finished her degree. She has a master's. She always put her children first. And so that's why, you got to find those people and surround yourselves around good mentors and stuff like that. And we're going to get into it. So then I was a son first. I had a younger sister who I'm very close with. She's also kind of getting into the mentoring and being role models for other people with her coaching stuff that she's got going on. And then you go down the list as you gain friends. You lose some, but you gain some. With Jordan, I think we've known each other maybe a couple of years now, but we've really started to click, man. And we could have conversations for hours on the phone about this mindset stuff. And just, even no matter what, it all comes back to just trying to get re-fired up and get that burning sensation back in your gut when you want to think about the fire service or family or whatever it is. And then where my wife was kind of like, where are you going with this, Jeff? You have friend and then father and then fireman and then a husband. So as I was a junior in high school, I had my first child when I was a junior in high school. Thought my life was over. Thought I'm not going to be able to do anything else. I'm going to have this kid on the way. Got to figure out what I'm going to do. My guidance counselor at the time was like, just stay on your path. Stay on your path. So that's kind of what I did. I went to Hocking College, got my certifications with the help of family, friends. And then that relationship kind of got rocky, didn't work out. Still get to see my daughter, but then I met my wife. My wife and I have been together for 16 years. We've been married for 11 this June. And then we have 3 kids of our own. And then again, staying on my path and never giving up, continue, even when things get tough, just continue to keep battling through it, I got promoted. I was promoted at my first career job. And again, it was a toxic environment. Had to get out of there. So made the change, and then this opportunity came about. And it's probably one of the greatest opportunities I've had in a long time. So with that, just when you think stuff gets tough, just stay on your path. You need somebody to talk to, reach out to myself, reach out to Jordan, somebody else, find somebody that you can chat with. The objectives that I've got for this here tonight, kind of what I want to try to cover, is the why are you here? And what kind of inspired me to do this class or build this and talk to Jordan like, hey, man, we need to push this, is I've been having conversations over the last few weeks, few months, even a year, asking the younger guys, not just the younger guys, but the older guys and gals of the fire department, like, why are you here? What gets you out of bed every morning? For some of us, it's an every 3rd day rotation. For some of us, it's a 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, your California swings. Some of you are 48, 96s, whatever it is. Why do you wake up every day, put that uniform on, and jump on those rigs? And some of the answers that I'm getting from people are just, I mean, it's mind blowing. I've got one guy that I've asked, like, what's your why? What are your own expectations? And his answers, I don't know. I've never been a fireman before. I'm like, none of us have ever been a fireman before, but you got to have your why. Like, why do you do what you do? And then what are your goals? Like, what do you want? What do you want from the fire service? What do you want out of your career? What do you want out of the department you work for? What do you want out of your fire officers? You know, is it to obtain a new certification? If you've only got a Fire 1, do you want to get a Fire 2? Do you want to become an EMT? Do you want to become a medic, rescue tech? All those things. Set your goals. And then their goals kind of correlate with your expectations. Like your own expectations. Like, what do you expect from yourself when you go to work every day? Or what do you expect outside of work? What do you expect in your life? And then take it a step further. What are your expectations for people around you? What are your expectations for your officer? Has your officer set the expectations for you? And it was interesting. I had a conversation the other night with a guy. We were up till probably about 11. And I was asking him, hey, what are your expectations? And he was just telling me, like, his foundation is solid. This kid's going to go places. But then when I asked him, what are your expectations for the community? He spun it back on me, and he's like, it should be, what are the expectations from the community to us? And that was mind-opening and mind-blowing for me. You want to prepare for today, tomorrow, and every day. And I don't mean just preparing by, like, getting your boots ready, putting your gear out there by the truck, but do something. You know, train, go over a piece of equipment, read a book, pick up an article, watch a YouTube video, do something to prepare, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Your officer could come in tomorrow and be like, hey, man, I'm retiring. This is my last shift. And if you're the out-of-class guy, you're next on the list. Are you ready to ride in that seat? Set yourself up for success. You know, surround yourself with other people that are minded like you. You know, get into different chat groups, get into Facebook. Social media is like blown up lately with all these Fit to Fight Fire, some other really good people out there. Get you a friend, somebody kind of like Jordan. I know I can call that dude all the time, be like, hey man, what's up? Or, you know, he'll set me straight. Some other people. Finding mentors. For me, it was early on in my fire careers. I found some people. I'm like, man, this dude's a rock star. Then you start working with him a little bit, and you're like, oh man, maybe he isn't such a rock star. But use the positive role models and the positive mentors, but also use some of those negative sources. We've all probably worked for a bad officer. We've all probably worked with a bad senior guy. We've all probably worked with a bad rookie. But use those things to be like, I don't want to be like that guy. Those things. And then study habits, we'll talk about those a little bit too, about, again, setting yourself up for success. And again, getting back to my circle is all these things kind of should circle back to one. Your study habits are going to get back to your setting up for success and your expectations and setting your goals. So when we start talking about goals, we want to talk about building a better foundation. Again, I take it back to some conversations that I've had with others throughout my career. And when you ask them, like, hey, what's your goal for the next year? Like, what are some of your goals? What do you want to accomplish? Some of them will look at you and just kind of give you that blank stare, like, oh no, I got my full-time job. So as long as I come to work every third day and collect my paycheck, I don't really think there's anything else. And I don't think there's not anything wrong with that completely, but we always need to be trying to do something better, because we got to remember we're there for the community. Was there a chat, Jordan, or were we good?
No, we should be good.
Okay. So like what I like to talk about goals, and when I talk about this with some people, and even for myself in my personal life, I talk about short and long-term planning and preparing. If you're going to, like, for me, it was, man, I knew I wanted to be an officer, and I knew I needed to get better at it, because the first time I did it, I wasn't very good at it. And I had a lot of people that told me that, and I took that to heart. So I started taking notes, started taking classes, started talking to different people, reading books, reading articles, going to conferences. So I set that goal that I'm going to set myself up for success, because in 5 to 10 years, I know I want to be a company officer, because I feel that that's what I'm going to be good at. And that was about 6 or 7 years ago. And to accomplish that long-term goal, as I would say, I had to set a bunch of short-term goals. I had to set, all right, so this year, let's say it's 2021. My long-term goal for 2026 is I want an engineer spot. I'm new in the fire department. I know there's a pump operator class. I know there's a driving course I can take. I'm going to find a good mentor. Those are going to be short-term goals that you're going to want to try to set up. When you meet those short-term goals, for me, I write them down in a journal. Once I meet them, I write it down and I figure out how I got it and I document it. Because to me, documentation is key. And even us, all of us EMS nerds that ride that box every day or have to, and you know, I've spent some time on the box, so I get EMS documentation. If you didn't write it, you didn't do it. So for me, it's writing your goals down, and when you achieve them, make it known, celebrate it, go out, and, you know, get with your buddies and say, hey man, I finished medic school. I got it done. That was goal number one. That was my big long-term goal. And then figure, how did you accomplish it? What short-term goals did you put into place to accomplish that long-term goal? Fix or replace bad habits. You know, so for me, earlier on, like I told you guys, for me, I was that opinionated, brand new kid in a busy firehouse, you know, and it was like, hey, why do we wear Scott Air packs? Why can't we wear MSAs? Or why do we wear modern fire helmets? Why can't we wear a traditional style fire helmet? Why do we wear rubber boots? Why can't we have leather? You know, why do we have to pay $10 a day for lunch? You know, those were the type of things that I was letting get to me, and I wasn't seeing the bigger picture. I wasn't seeing that, and it wasn't until a guy that is a good friend of mine and a true mentor of mine sat me down one day, and he was like, Rosie, you need to slow your roll, dude. You need to sit down, readjust, and think about what you're truly here for. And, you know, that bad habit of mine was kind of breeding into the guys that were coming in underneath me. So I get a couple years in, and I'm still bitter, complaining about this. I could complain the building was white. Why do we have a white firehouse, old block building that's white? Why can't we paint it? And I would complain about something as minute as that. And then these young guys, they'd be like, yeah, why is the firehouse white? It's not supposed to be white. And then so my bad habits were a trickle effect down into those dudes. And that's fixing those and replacing those will take you leaps and bounds. And it's just, if that one dude has to check you one day, like, hey man, you need to get your crap in order, then hopefully that's what it takes. And if that's not what it takes, again, set some goals like, hey, you know what, I'm going to try to say 10 positive things today rather than 100 negative. All that again goes into your mindset. Like, how is this truly what you want to do? I mean, do you truly want to be a public servant? Because that's what we are there for. Volunteer, career, it doesn't matter. You're there to serve the public. The volunteer dudes, they take times away from their family. They take times away from their job. And it's just, if your mind ain't right, you got to figure out how to get your mind into that all-in attitude. Again, set yourself up for success. And then another goal of mine with this is for some of those guys that are wanting to take that next step. Or if you're brand new and you're just, I don't think I want to go talk to this guy. I'm too afraid. That's what I hope, that with this little bit of, we can get some fire in everybody's belly, and so we can decrease the anxiety and decrease the fear of making ourselves better. So I go back to that, why are you here? For me, is I do it for my family, but I also do it for the community. I took an oath. I swore to the people of Harrison Township that I would provide the best professional service that I can do. So on the professionalism note, the only thing I'm good at is being a firefighter paramedic, being a husband, being a father. I'm not a mechanic. I don't work on my cars. I'm not a handyman. Jordan will tell you that I probably break more tools than we have. You know, and I don't build things. So when I need it built, I pay somebody to build it. That's their profession. I take my car to a mechanic because he's a professional, hopefully. So when I wear these shirts that say professional firefighter, when I wear my uniform, when I do this, I take it to heart that I'm a professional, and that's why I'm there, because I'm good at what I do. And there's so many of us that are really good at what we do, but we just got to get back into that. Why are you here? What brought you through the door? And that's what I'll ask Jordan, like what brought you through the door, where you're at 5, 6 years ago when you went into your fire department? Why did you ask for an application?
Oh man, mine. So my story was I actually had two friends killed in high school, and so you talk about life going full circle. So Chris and Cody, it was my sophomore year of high school, and they were killed in a car accident. And when we found out that the accident happened, Chris's family had reached out to all of us, and they had us, the kids, come up to the ICU room, and Chris was still on life support, and they were keeping him alive to do an organ donation. And so at the time, Chris's uncle, who now happens to be my battalion chief, was actually keeping Chris on life support. Chief Helmig was he's the reason why I wanted to become fireman, was that incident right there. So, and I think that's what bleeds into my passion and drive, and honestly kind of makes me pissed off at times when you see people who don't have that same drive and passion that you do. And you got to find that happy balance of, you got to understand everyone's why, because it's not the same as mine. It's not the same as Jeff's, not the same as Corey's. Everyone's is different. And
Yep, and some of us are very lucky that this is a true profession. Like, we get paid like that. And it wasn't until recently that it dawned on me that I get paid to do what I love to do. I get paid to break stuff. I get paid to watch Netflix when we're slow, or I'm able to support my family to be a professional fireman. And then there's some perks to it. But man, I can tell you, there's some times when a week or so ago, we had a structure fire from 11 to like 6 a.m. And I just got done doing office work at like 10:45, laid in bed. So I was up for 26 and a half hours, go home. My wife's a night shift nurse at the hospital here in Lancaster, Ohio. So I get home like, Amanda, I'm beat. I got to catch a nap. She's like, well, I got to go do this class at the hospital. So you got to hang out with the little dude you see there. That's Mason. He's a handful. But so 26 and a half hours, I'm like, all right, babe, go do what you do. As soon as you get home, though, I got to crash before you lay down for work. And that's the dynamic of what we do, is supporting one another, supporting your family. So, figuring out your why is going to be your biggest thing. And again, I challenge you guys to start a notebook. Call it a journal, call it a diary. I call it a notebook because that's what it is to me. It's a notebook. My wife calls it a diary, but it's a notebook. I jot things down in it almost daily. I come back to it regularly just to check myself, to make sure that I'm still on track with the why am I here. What are your goals? One of the things here that, it just touches my heart, and you can laugh, chickle all you want, but that's my 8-year-old son. That was the day of my swearing in. My son, that's Caleb. He's pretty much into like his iPad and Roblox or whatever that game is called, and Minecraft and all this stuff. But the swearing in was at like 6 p.m. So around, I think, noon or 1, I called him over and I was like, hey, buddy, I think I'm going to have you pin my badge on me. I want to make sure you know how to do it. And the cool thing with that coat there is it's actually got a slide and a tab in it, so you don't get stabbed. Some of the ones I've worn in the past are a little trickier. But the way that he lit up and he held onto that badge from 1 p.m. until he pinned it on my chest at 6:45. He never let go of it. He went everywhere with it. He was ecstatic. He was very excited. And it was just, the goal is for all of us that have kids, or to do whatever we do, is to be the best that we can be and to be a great parent. And that was one of those instances that it was real heartfelt and touching for me as a parent, to be like, man, this dude is fired up about something other than his iPad. But talking about goals again, like we've talked about this a little bit already. Is your goal to become that firefighter 1? Is it to become that firefighter 2? Are some of you in paramedic school, EMT basic, whatever it is, you want to be full-time job is probably a majority of the people's top of their goal list. And then it talks like, how do you want to get that goal? Set that up again. Write that down in your journal, your diary, your notebook. Whatever your goals are, the only way to accomplish your goals is to put in the work, to get your mind right, to set yourself up for success. And then every now and then you have to check yourself. If you don't write your goals down or you don't lock them up in your brain memory box, you might not remember them and you'll forget about them. And then it'll just become a dream or a flicker. And then it's, then you got to reset yourself. So got this story or this picture again from Fit to Fight Fire. Give them some credit. The only man who never makes a mistake is the man who never does anything. And I'm pretty sure, I'll go out on a limb here and say that probably everybody that's listening to this webinar, sitting in this presentation right now, can pinpoint one person. You can pick somebody out and be like, I know who that dude is. I know who this dude is. Because we've all got them. Every single fire department has them. And the questions that I put out to all you guys is, how do you fix them? How do you get these dudes up? And that's the struggle that I have on a daily. But when I got promoted in as a captain at Harrison Township, they told me, they were like, dude, we're going to send you to a shift that's pretty tough. You got a couple dudes that really aren't the motivated, the best, and you've got a guy that's going to be a little bit bitter and upset. But I got a solid crew, man. My crew is a really, really good crew. All of them are go-getters. I got a dude he could be an awesome mechanic. And that's what, we need something fixed, he does it. And it's just, when you see the dude sitting down, have a conversation with them. Ask them what their expectations are. And ask them, what are your expectations for me? And see if you can change that mindset for them. Again, what gets you out of bed every morning? What do you want out of the fire service? And then what do you expect from your fire officers, your crew? And then I took it a step further. When I got promoted from the outside and I started at Harrison Township, I had that expectation talks with all the crew member, but then I sat them all down and I was like, hey, I'm new here. I'm going to need some help. We all help each other every day. But what are your expectations from me? What did you like about your old officer? What didn't you like about your old officer? What do you want out of your careers? What do you think I can help you with? And I feel that those conversations have went over well with most of those guys, and they tend to go over well with mostly anybody. Talk about preparation. For me, preparation started on the first day, and it should start for everybody as well. Doesn't matter if you're volunteer or career, it's how you prepare. And again, I don't talk about the picture you see here is, you can see my boots, my radio, and my hood. My helmet's tucked up in there somewhere, and my coat's laying across the doghouse. I'm not talking about that type of preparation, because we're all probably pretty good at that, preparing our gear, making sure our equipment's ready to go. But what are we doing mentally? What are we doing to prepare ourselves? Do we go over our equipment daily? Do we get a piece of equipment out that we haven't used in who knows how long? When I was at my first career fire department, many of you might know what this is. We had a Geiger counter, I think is what it's called. And it sat in an old beat up box. And I'm like, what is this thing? What does it do? And everybody's like, I don't know. It's been on the truck for 20 years. No one's ever taken it out. I'm like, okay, cool. So, we all have those style of equipment. Recently, we have e-tools, battery operated hydraulics, stuff like that. I guess it wouldn't be hydraulics if they're batteries, but we have a ram. A couple guys were like, hey, how do you extend this ram? I'm like, that's a good question. Show me how to do it. And it probably took us an hour or two before we finally figured out how to put the ram extension on. And I'm like, what are you guys going to do if we had an auto accident right now and we had to use the ram extension? Those are things that preparing is going to be the key for everything that we do. For those of us that are getting ready for a promotion, getting ready for a job interview, getting ready for a civil service exam, whatever it is, you're not just going to go in there, sit down, and hope to be successful. You got to prepare. If you're getting ready for a promotion or an interview, practice. Write notes to yourselves on your mirrors. Write down in a journal or a notebook. Ask people that have been around. If you're comfortable with your current officer, you guys got a real good relationship, set that person down and be like, hey, Cap, I know you've done well in the promotionals for a while. So do you mind coaching me or mentoring me, or can we run through some scenarios? Those of you that ride medic trucks all day long, every day, but you're looking at a promotion here soon or promotional process. When you're out riding that truck, the dude sitting next to you, whether he's brand new or been there for 25 years, hey, let's size up this house. I know Jordan does it. His wife gets irritated. Every time they go somewhere, he'll be like, hey, check out this 3.5-story Victorian, look at that driveway. And when I go out to eat, I look for the exits before I even sit down. I have to sit with my back facing a sturdy wall most of the time, because those are the things that we just run through our head. We're preparing for that oh shit situation. It begins with your attitude. You've got that terrible attitude, like you don't want to be here, blah, blah, then I challenge you to, why are you even here? Like, why did you walk through that door 1, 10, 15, 20 years ago? Choosing mentors are going to be the biggest asset that any and all of us can have. If you choose the right mentors will get you to where they need to be. Again, reading books, reading magazine articles, YouTube, Facebook now. Facebook has a lot, like Fit to Fight Fire. Those dudes, they post something almost daily that's motivational or something like that. Take classes, such as what you're sitting through listening to now. It's not our norm, but find something local or get a hold of somebody and be like, hey man, can you set up this forceful entry for the first due engine company? Can we, or just do it on your own. Get a tool out and start looking at stuff. Size up doors all the time. Train and take classes. Train every day. For those of you that are career firefighters in the Ohio Association of Professional Firefighters, if you don't already have an associate's degree, the OAPFF higher education is phenomenal. You can get an associate's degree. If you haven't looked it up. It's no out of pocket to you as the member, your wife, your kids, your grandkids. Look it up, because that OAPFF higher education is a great, great resource. I can attest to it that I finally finished my associate's degree, and that's what I used. Again, go ahead.
Lee Short, he's a officer over at Lima Fire. He just said that you can get your looks like your bachelor's now out of that.
Awesome. Yeah. Lee Short and I, we were in the same building construction and some stuff like that. So thank you for joining in, Lee. That's amazing. So yeah, again, those career guys, and even if you're not a career, you'll get a career. That's what your goal is. So add that to your goal list. Like, my first goal is to get that career job. My second goal is to finish my associate's degree, because now it's going to be no out of pocket to me.
And so some other goals, if you find yourself in that volunteer setting, BG State Fire School, you can get free scholarships. You just got to write a short essay. There's all kinds of things out there to get the education and prepare yourself. And then to add on to the choosing mentors, when I did the acting officer class the other day, a student said, not only is it mentors of people that are around you and that but also the firefighters that are doing these conferences, like a Chief Isaacson, those type, like those dudes I look up to. Andy Starnes, like I look up to those guys. I message them. We're not like on a everyday talk basis, but I reach out to them when I need something. It's outside of my four walls. It's outside of my county, and you and I have talked 100 times about, there's more to the fire service than the 100 square miles that I cover.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And that's what it is. Some of these great books, like Jared Sergey out in Norfolk, believe he's a captain or a battalion, one of those. He does no nonsense leadership. He'll do these same webinars every now and then, man. It's what it is. We're sitting around and we're talking, so you feel like you're on a friendly basis with him, and that's, use him as a mentor. Use Rick Lasky use any of these dudes that have been around and done it. But as long as they got the same passion and same drive that you're wanting to work toward, or you want to be, those are the people you want to surround yourself around. Because if you want to be a shitbag and you surround yourself with a shitbag, then I hate to say it, you're probably going to be a shitbag. And that goes into being professional. Again, I talked about professionalism and how I don't fix my cars. I take it to a professional, because I'm a professional fireman, whether volunteer or career. I'm a career captain, but I'm also a part-time firefighter paramedic at a local fire department in Fairfield County. So those people still expect a professional service when they call us. They don't care what the patch on your shirt says. They don't care. All they know is grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, somebody's either sick, hurt, dying, or their house is on fire or something. They want you to be there, and they want you to be on your A game. Talk about setting yourself up for success. Again, I use a lot of stuff with my children. That's my crew there in the other picture. That was one day. You know, you can bang on us for PPE and all that stuff if you want to right now, but this training got a little bit crazier than we anticipated. We were just going to go out there and talk about tools, and we had a roof simulator on the ground, and we had a newer firefighter with us. It's like, man, I've never really cut a hole in a roof. So I was like, let's go, dude. Let's go out back and let's do it. And then it turned into, all right, what are you going to use to stabilize yourself if your ladder failed or something like that? Use your axe, use your Halligan, use different tools and different techniques. And it was funny because a couple people that are in this picture, I'm not going to name names or point any of them out, but a couple of these people in here were the ones that I was told, hey, you're going to have a hard time getting them up and outside to do stuff with you. And my whole entire crew was outside doing this drill with us. And I think I was still fairly new in this picture. I started in April of 2020, and I want to say this is probably like June or July. So be positive, surround yourself with positive people. You know, if that's your duo, that's what you got to do. You have to remain confident, remain positive. If you get that bad, you get that negative person, try to have that why conversation with them. Like, hey, man, what's going on? You don't know what's going on with their home life. You don't know what's going on. And if you do, try to be that support to help bring them back to the positive. If it's no good, back out and find yourself somebody else and see if there's different, because there's other resources out there, again, in the fire service that we can set people up for that need it. EAPs are perfect examples. IFF, Center for Excellence. You know, we got to be there for our guys, but we also got to be there for ourselves too. So if you have to remove yourself from bad environments, just like I told you that I had to, sometimes those are the things that we have to do. It may not be beneficial at the time. Some of us may take pay cuts. Some of us may lose rank. You may lose seniority. You may lose vacation time. You may lose whatever. But if it's a bad environment and you know that you're not going to get anything out of it, probably the best thing to do is remove yourself from it so you can get into a new environment and create that culture that you need and deserve. And the next one goes for really anybody. I mean, that's what I've been trying to tell my guys, tell the people that I work with, tell my friends, tell Jordan, tell everybody is we can't fix anything until we know what the problem is. So speak up and step up. It don't matter what rank you hold. It doesn't matter where you're at in the seniority list, in my opinion. If you see something that's not right, you see something that somebody's doing isn't safe, that isn't right, we all hear it, we all say it all the time, speak up. You know, that goes for like, you got guys that ride the rig nowadays that won't put their seatbelts on. And if you're a seatbelt Nazi, great, thank you. If you're not a seatbelt Nazi, you don't wear it, your day's going to catch up to you. But for us, you know, if my medic's out running a call and a guy's like, hey, I'm just gonna run this one by myself. I don't need you to go inside. That's not how we operate. We send 2 people in on medic calls. 2 people go in the house all the time, not one individual. So if stuff's not being done the way it's supposed to be done, speak up. And then I want to change that dynamic a little bit. We got a lot of newer, younger individuals in my department. And these guys, they have what we call is like a rookie book, playbook, whatever you want to call it, that they're supposed to get stuff done. They get assigned a mentor. But what do you do when their mentor leaves for another job? So now they don't have a mentor. You got to reassign their mentor. But being these younger, newer guys, you guys got to speak up just as much. If your book's not getting done, it's your book. It's not my book. So, excuse me. But I can't come out and check it every day like, hey, let me see your book. Let me see your book, because I would be stuck doing that all day, every day. So if there's a piece of equipment, if it's, hey, can we pull the blitz line today? And your mentor or the crew keeps saying, oh, we'll get to it, we'll get to it, we'll get to it. Go speak to your officer. Speak up. Say, hey, I'm not getting stuff done that needs to be done. Or can we go over this drill today? Can we do these things today? That's speaking up and stepping up. Integrity, pride, ownership. all those things kind of circle back into one thing. And that should be, again, takes you back to your why. Like, why are you here? Think of integrity and what it is to you. What is pride? Do you take pride in your stuff? When you wear your uniforms, are you wearing dirty, wrinkled uniforms that have cat and dog hair stuff all over them? Or when you get to work, are you going to put a clean, crisp uniform on to look that professional? When you do something, do you own it? You know, is it like, yeah, man, I did it. I'm sorry. I backed the medic into the bay door today. Own it. You know, it happened. So let's get past it and make it right. Follow through and follow up. A lot of stuff that officers we talk about all the time is when we do something, we have a meeting or something with somebody, we got to follow through with that, with whatever we decide. And then we also have to follow up with the individuals, but take the officer, discipline, all that stuff out of it. When you do something, follow through with it. So if Jordan was going to tell me, hey, Jeff, I'm going to come down next weekend and we're going to throw ladders all day long. All right, cool. If I don't follow up with him and he doesn't follow through with it, our friendship's probably null and void. So if he says he's going to do something, be accountable and then follow up and have that 100% all-in attitude all the time. I get there's going to be days, I've had them personally myself, and I guarantee I'm going to have a lot more, but I've got young kids, as you've seen in some of these pictures, that you may not get a whole lot of rest the night before you have to go to work. Something may be going on at home that you're just not comfortable talking to somebody about. So you're going to be like, you'll come to work and you'll just be dog tired, or like, man, I need to catch a few minutes. An example that I use again is probably a month ago, I had a guy that came in, he was like, Cap, I've been up since midnight. I didn't really sleep. I don't know what's going on, but I'm dragging ass. I'm on the medic today. I'm like, all right, man, get your medic check done. Make sure your equipment's good to go, and then go upstairs and catch you a couple hours. So probably around 8:30, we start at 7, 8:30, 9 o'clock, he came to me and said, hey, Cap, I'm going to go lay down. Great. Around noon, he came back down, and he was a brand new person, refreshed. He was 100%, and he was ready to lead training for us that day. Those are the things that I'm talking about. So if you need a couple minutes, a couple hours, more than happy to give those to you because I've been there and I've had them.
The thing I get out of that, Jeff, is you've created relationships. Communication equals relationships. That moment right there, you knew this dude wasn't 100%. Mm-hmm. He came to you and told you what was up, and you listened. You said, go take a nap. That gave him buy-in.
Yep.
Now he's bought in for the rest of the shift. Yeah, you lost a couple hours, but in reality, you gained someone who's ready for that first due fire.
Yep. And that's where, I mean, that's for us, like, and I'm pretty sure it's probably routine pretty much everywhere, is that some people, 7 a.m. shift change, you're hanging out till like 7:30, 7:45 anyways, drinking coffee, shooting the shit, whatever you want to call it. But majority of us, our air packs are checked. Our truck's ready to go. It's fueled, and if it's not clean, we're cleaning it real quick. And then around that 8 o'clock mark is when we really jump in hardcore to our checking our equipment. We have specific days where Tool Tuesday, Medic Monday, Fire Truck Friday, those things. And that's when we're going to dig into meat and potatoes of our equipment. But from the hours of probably 10 to noon, we're doing house chores or union breaks, anything like that. And so that's the perfect opportunity for that guy that you can tell, hey, man, it was a rough night. Whether if he's out tying one on, that's a different story, and you know you've got a problem, we got to address those. But if it's a dude that legit comes to you, say, hey, man, I'm not 100%. I need a couple hours. Send it. Let them have it. That's where, again, like Jordan, we're building these relationships because these are the people that we're going to need when shit goes bad inside.
And I don't mean to butt in.
Good, man.
But, say you have that one – you can't go to your officer, It's just one of those – it's not a good relationships, whatever. Then – say I'm that firefighter, it's like, man, I don't feel good, something's up. Then that other individual he's talking to needs to speak up and say something.
Yep. Yeah, hey, that's where that speak up, step up.
Yeah.
If Jordan and I are on the box one day and we take a run at 7 a.m., we take a run, and I can just – if you're on the medic with this dude every day, and I'm, Jordan, what's up, man? Oh, man, I'm fine. Like, nah, dude, something's up. I'm going to keep digging until I break you. Mm-hmm. You're going to tell me, hey, man, Mason was up till 3 o'clock last night. Amanda worked the night before, so I stayed up with her. I had to get up at 5 to get to work. So I'm drag ass tired, buddy. All right. Hey, let's switch then. I'll take this run, or you know what? You worry about it. Let's go in there. Let me assess the patient. Let me do this, and we'll figure it out from here. But when we get back, we're going to go in and talk to Cap. And Jordan will, no, don't worry about it, man. I'll figure it out. It's at that point you have to be his advocate, because is he making the right decisions for himself, for the people he swore to protect, and is he making the right decision for you? Because what happens if you get him in the back of that medic truck? I'm driving. Jordan's supposed to be caring for this patient, and something critical happens to the patient, and Jordan fell asleep. You know, or something bad happens. He pushes the wrong medication because he's just not 100%. Those are the things to speak up, step up. That's what we got to try to break, is those bad habits and those bad cycles. Talked about a little bit of getting into some study habits. Again, these are things that I use. This is stuff that I use. The leadership book there, and self-deception, that book was given to me by my mother-in-law. She was like, Jeff, I think you're really, really going to love this book. It talks about being inside and outside of the box and how you see others. Loved it. It was a phenomenal book. You got No Nonsense Leadership. And they're both, I haven't really got to dig too much into them. They're fairly new books. I just got them for Christmas. But then you got Jocko. Well, he writes some amazing books. I know Corey has been doing a reading challenge with his daughter, so it's interesting to see some of the books that he's probably read and things like that. But these are just a few of the things that I carry around with me all the time. So when I catch those extra minutes where it's time to lay down in bed, right now I'm still reading the Leadership and Self-Deception, so I'll grab that one and finish it off. But I always have a backup, so when the next one's not there, I'll grab No Nonsense Leadership next and start digging into that. Or Extreme Ownership. Those are just the name of Rick Lasky's Pride and Ownership is probably still the go-to for a lot of people. If you want to get back into getting fired up about your job, that's a good man to talk to. So study habits, I put finding the time, because a lot of us, man, if you're like me, you just, to try to chop out an hour in my life outside of work, good luck, man. My kids are busy. My wife's busy. My life is hectic, but I had to make the time. When it came down to study for my promotional for the Harrison Township Fire Department's captain position, I had to find time and I had to make the time to study, because that's what I truly wanted to do. So I found that time. I asked for help, just like you should too. Find a mentor, find a friend, find somebody like, hey, will you help me out? Run me through scenarios, you know, put me on the chopping block, ask me questions. Let's drive past this house, size it up, tell them that the second story's on fire and there's a whole family upstairs asleep. Run scenarios constantly. Watch videos, read books, read articles, whatever it is. Do something that you're currently not doing to try to make yourself better. And again, that's preparing. So when you have to do that promotional, you have to do that interview, you have to take that test, you're prepared, you're ready for it. You're not walking in there scared or blindsided by it. Podcasts are something that's new to me. Probably over the last couple of years, I've started doing that. Instead of listening to the radio on my way to work, or listening to the radio while we're cleaning at home, doing whatever it is, I'll pop in a podcast. Fit to Fight Fire is a good one. There's a lot of other really good ones out there. And even if it's not fire related, like again, Extreme Ownership, Jocko from the SEAL team, he has a really good podcast that you can listen to. There's a bunch of them out there. My mother-in-law is a CPA and she podcasts all the time too. So then talk about training culture and a training program. I'll let Jordan kind of take that one a little bit, because that's his go-to.
So training it's either loved or hated. It's one or the other. And you got to find that happy medium, how to bring the two groups together. Training is not always in the fire. Western Buckeye training, when we do our training, someone's reaching out to us. They want it. We go a little hard with the hands-on. We kind of push those students. But in the firehouse, it's kind of hard to do a hardcore training every shift. You know, you don't want to spend your people. It's a lot of investment, and the medic unit is taking a bunch of runs. So that kind of screws your day up. So with training, you have to be precise. It's a surgical a way to attack what are the goals that I want for the shift today. And that's having that morning conversation. If you find yourself that you're the acting officer, that's one thing I'm pushing for really hard right now. If I know that I might be in that situation, I'm going to prepare the day before. I'm going to write up a list of the things that I want to do. Hey, we're going to do hose load training today, but I know that the guys they had a rough night before. We're not going to do full gear. We're just going to walk through it nice and easy. Your training doesn't have to be insanely hard. Just do something, right?
Yeah, and again, that's take a tool down, get the Halligan out, and go over the pieces of the Halligan, and then go look at the door to the firehouse. Be like, is this an outward and inward swinging door? This was an outward swinging door. What do I got to do? Then YouTube. Pull up a YouTube video of forcible entry, and I guarantee you'll find 100 of them.
Now there is a time when you need to go hard, and that's when I feel that you have shortfalls on an incident, and you find those weak points and you attack them as a crew. It's not an individual issue. You got to be tactful in those situations there, but training is to grow and influence each other, not let it turn into a bad word. There's an organization where there's a certain time in the day they do a drill, and I absolutely love that idea in that program. And it's not anything where they're pulling the trucks out every day. It's a tabletop. I have learned and done more by pulling a picture up of a warehouse or for us, we cover a lot of rural just like you do. And there's that 2-mile lane off the road.
Yeah,
hey, how are we going to set our tankers up in this situation here? And then you get the old guys talking about, well, this fire, we did it this way, and it just snowballs. It's like the other night when I posted a picture and video of us doing the hose loads at like 7:00 at night on a Saturday. That was an accident. That accidentally turned into a training. And your self-preparedness, your mindset, you don't have to have a crew to train with you all the time. You can do it by yourself in the apparatus bay. There's 2 things I always drill on: mask up times and deploying a shoulder load, because the way our hose loads are, if I build a bundle, it's exactly what I'm pulling off the truck. I don't have to have a whole shift out there to do it with me. If it's just one of them off days, someone's in a bad mood, it's not the right time, go out there and do it yourself. You're investing in yourself to be better for the fire.
And then, we talk practice and training, to me, are basically kind of similar, very, very the same things. But think of like professional athletes, or let's stick with just professional athletes. Cleveland Browns recently, they're a good team now. They just kind of destroyed the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm sorry if there's Steeler fans out there, but think of the Browns 5 years ago, 10 years ago. These dudes, they're putting in some time, they're practicing, they're doing what they need to do. And that's where they were making the difference. We're not going to make a difference if we don't train. If we don't prepare, we're not going to make the difference. And that's where the practice and the training prepares us to really almost doing, because we can't prepare for everything, but we can have a pretty good understanding of what we're about to get into if we train and practice. This is the JJ Watt video from his post-game interview a couple weeks back. It wasn't working earlier when Jordan and I tried it. I'll give it a try, see if it'll work here. If we don't get a whole lot of sound, we'll move on.
That's pretty. I'm not seeing it, bud. Nope, no go on that.
So that's, if you get the opportunity to watch this video. look it up, listen to it, because it goes into a lot of like how I feel, how Jordan feels, how I'm pretty sure a lot of you feel, is that JJ is frustrated because of his team members, and some of the people let him down. They let the fans down. But the people out there that were in those stands, they came, they paid, they buy the merch, they do all that stuff. They show up time and time again. Even when we are at our worst, these people still call. Just like JJ Watt's talking about his team, the same thing goes with our crew, our department. When these people call 911 in your run district and you show up and you have a bad attitude, or you just don't have that all in, you don't care, you haven't prepared, you haven't done what you're supposed to do, that's where JJ Watt got frustrated. And that's what frustrates me, is because we have shown and we have asked, like, it goes back to why. Why did you come through that fire department door and say, hey, can I have an application? Why did you show up for that interview? Why did you show up for that test? Why did you accept the position? And why do you come in every third day? But now you really you don't care anymore. Your appearance is disgusting. Your attitude's disgusting. You're a slug, in my opinion. Those are the slugs that if you can't work with them, some of the dudes that I work with now will tell you that I use this term every now and then, and sometimes I use it loosely, is it's a casualty of war. You know, you go to battle with 10,000 soldiers, you may not come back with all 10,000 of them. So your slug may be your casualty. That if it's your good dude that you lose to another fire department, I've been there. We've lost good dudes, and we're going to continue to lose good dudes. But if we can change that culture, train that mindset, and help prepare people for success, we might not lose these people anymore, and we'll be able to give that professional service to the people we swore to protect. So that's pretty much the gist of the presentation that I have. If there's questions, if there's comments, if you guys want to interact, if you want to run some scenarios, or if there's somebody that wants to prepare for a promotion and has some promotional process questions, or we'll hang out, answer those for you. Here's a little bit of information. Western Buckeye Training. I didn't throw Corey on here, but Corey is also with Jordan and myself. Jordan, owner, founder, great dude. Some of the things we can offer. If you don't see it on the list, email Jordan, call Jordan, do something. And we're truly here for all of you. If there's something that you're like, man, if we can bring this to our firehouse and these good dudes will talk about it, one of the three of us will be there to do it for you. If you want to see this presentation in your firehouse, I'll be more than happy to ask Jordan. I'll pretty much drive anywhere in the state if you want to do some training. So
yeah, he'll just break my stuff. That's all.
Yeah.
Jeff, good job, man. I really appreciate this.
It was an honor, man. It was again, like I said, this is what gets me. This is my why. This is what gets. I love just trying to share. Maybe if there's 60 people in this thing right now and only one of them got something out of it, that's what matters to me. Hopefully, all 60 of them get something from it. But it's the give and take, man. I want the fire service is going to be here when I leave, and I just want to know that I did my part to preserve it.
The one thing I want to add is, if you have the time, please, in the chats, you'll see the link to the Google Drive. Fill out the questionnaire in there. That kind of helps guide us towards other classes and things like that. Corey Stroup is going to have a webinar on the February 4th, excuse me. I think that starts at 6:30, right, Corey? Give me a thumbs up. All right, cool. And then February 27th, Schwartz Contracting is hosting their annual fire conference, and it's going to be at Apollo as of now. I'm not sure there's going to be any changes with that. It's kind of with COVID and everything, you know how that stuff goes. But as of now, it is on board for February 27th, and I will share the link. It's free. They're bringing in 2 instructors. One gentleman is from UL Research Group, and the other guy is Chief Joe Prenesti from Elyria. You guys have seen him speak quite a few times. It's going to be a really good conference. It's free. I can't stress that enough. So look out for the information for that. Jeff, do you have anything else you want to add, man?
That's it, man. That's all I got for this one. So, like I said, we'll hang out a couple minutes if somebody's
Yeah,
got something else that they want to throw at us. Go for it. But if
yeah.
not, again, thank you guys for sitting in. Thank you guys for joining us, because if it wasn't for you guys, we couldn't do this.